record on this computer. Co-host. Beautiful. All right, be right back.
All right, go do your thing. Hey, we getting started at 8, and
Okay, sounds good.
All right, repping.
You know what I'm saying? Out here, you know what I mean? Vintage shit, you know what I mean? Day one.
Right.
They don't even make these no more.
I literally think that's the only one of that shirt specifically, like that color. We never made that of that color.
Yeah, you know, I mean, when you're in the know, let me know. I could get you one. I know some people. Hello.
Hey, what's up?
Hello.
Oh, man.
Greetings. Welcome. Is it Olu?
Yeah, it is.
Is this your first? You look like a not familiar face.
Yes, I'm not a familiar face.
He's familiar to me, but just as like a friend of mine, as a human that I know. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm sorry you had to know this guy, but
I know, me too. Like,
it's tough, you know. But someone's got to. Some of us have to. You know, this is the work. You know, it's not glorious. You know what I mean? It's befriending people like him. A greater good. Yeah.
Let's see.
So how do you know each other though?
Oh man.
yeah.
Way back.
Yeah.
Like high school. We both were in Youth in Action.
Okay.
Yeah, we met through there, and then kind of didn't really talk through college. Like we bumped into each other here and there, and then like she lives out in New York now, and then I live out in New York now. So yeah.
Okay, were you both at URI together?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well, I'm glad you've stayed in touch. Daniel, what up?
What up, man?
What's going on? You know, Daniel, every day, man, I think about the chairs I got from your yard sale.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man. They have remained a significant part of my life ever since.
I don't even know which chairs you're talking
Yeah,
about.
they're black fold-up chairs. They're black folding chairs, and so when Daniel was leaving Boston to New York, he had like hey man, I'm gonna just sell all the things in my apartment. And like I just rounded up a bunch of stuff. Some stuff that he wasn't even selling. Like I was like, I got a scale from his bathroom. He's like, yeah, that's not really for sale. Like, $50. He's like, no, I need that. I was like, 55. He's like, yeah, just put that down. But yeah, got a bunch of stuff for like $100. Most of the stuff I no longer have, but those chairs have stuck with me, and I appreciate that.
That's great, man.
Yeah, thank you. Raheem, is it? Am I saying it properly?
Yeah, Raheem.
Raheem? Oh, yeah. What's going on, brother? Have you been to one before? You look kind of familiar, but I'm not sure if...
Yeah, he was in the last one. Garrison was in the chat. This is one of my teacher friends. I just call him his last name. Only Garrison. I don't even know.
Okay.
Raheem who? I don't know who that is.
Solid last name. Respect for the Hilton shirt. No.
Word.
I want to say I ain't one of the Cosbys. I ain't going to Hill, man. But it's a tough time to talk about both Cosbys and quote Kanye. So like,
this is the worst thing to do right now.
Yeah, it's kind of hard. Yeah. But yeah, good to see you all here. You know, good to see some good faces of good people. Also, if folks want to, you know, put on their preferred pronouns in their rename yourself. If you want us to rename you, you can just drop it in the chat, your preferred pronouns, and we could do that for you. Also, if anyone's not okay with this being recorded, please let us know. If you don't want to say it publicly, you just DM me privately, and we won't post this. But we hope to kind of make this available for folks who can't make the talk. Right now we're doing YouTube. We're considering a SoundCloud audio option. So also if you're like, yeah, people can hear me, but I just don't want them to see my face and my name, also let me know. But if not, we're cool. Also, apologies. We know Snoop Dogg and DMX are going head to head at the moment. But from what I heard, they've partnered with Apple, and they're gonna make the verses like available after now, which kind of should have happened before. Like if we're recording our Zoom calls and posting them on YouTube, I feel like all that money involved, all the people involved there could have got some clean recordings of that available. But you know, there's a method to the madness.
Garrison, I think something's up with your mic.
Yeah, we're hearing a little bit of a crunchy sound.
It's a funny word to describe it.
But it's accurate, though. It's a very, very crunchy audio. I don't know the best solution, honestly. Are you using headphones or? Okay, you're using the AirPods. Yeah, the AirPods, man. I don't know what's going on, man.
Yeah.
Apple.
Not a big fan.
Yeah, I'm a fan. It's just they've been messing up lately.
With the mic, I'm not. Like listening to music, it's fine, but everything else.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh yeah, we can hear you. What were you saying?
Cool. I was saying I was wondering if Versus was on now. I was checking. I didn't see it.
You know, they always take a little bit to start. You know, Snoop's probably, you know, doing what Snoop does a little bit before the verses, getting in his mode. Hopefully DMX is not doing what he used to do before getting his mode. Okay, shots fired. Okay. But yeah. They would have that.
Your audio went out, Aya.
Sorry, yeah, my money's on DMX. I'm still on the show, personally, you know.
Definitely East Coast bias.
It's the East Coast. I mean, love Snoop, but I feel like DMX has more to prove, and in these battles, usually it's the person that like has more to prove that tends to like kind of, you know, come out. I think like with Luda and Nelly, I think people expected both, but people like, yo, Nelly, he's really got those songs. But then like Luda was able to show his range. I feel like with Jadakiss and Fab, we were like, oh, we know all these Fab songs. Like Jadakiss is not gonna have an appeal to everybody, but he just had that drunk uncle energy that really like made everything he was doing just work a lot more than Fab. Yes, I just think if DMX brings his energy, that energy will win. And plus, all his songs literally make you want to get up, bust a hole in a wall, and like, you know, just go crazy. And so, you know, I think that that's going to be the thing that does it. What's up, Nick? I see you in this basement situation of sorts. A little Saw 6 action going on. I'm not sure what else you got going on in your background.
Welcome to the jungle. We got fun and games.
Yeah. Nick Jagger, everyone.
All right. What's going on, y'all? What's going on, y'all?
What's up?
How's my clarity? Am I clear?
Oh, you clear, bro. You clear, bro.
I'm actually using the Rode mic, so you know you can hear the clarity.
Okay, I see you got a little cup here. I'm gonna go get a little cup of wine myself,
Cheers,
and then we're gonna kick things off.
Cool.
What's up, family? We got talking about the Snoop and DMX.
Yeah.
Yeah, just putting bets out there.
I think who y'all got? I think Snoop might smash him.
Smash? You talking smash?
Smash. Like,
nah, I do think Snoop technically has the upper hand in this situation because he's got more. But I don't know. People keep mentioning more, and more is not. It's 20. You got 20 songs. Doesn't matter who has
Snoop
more.
With the Dre catalog and the shit Snoop has done and the Dog Pound shit. It might be. I don't know, man.
Yeah, I don't think it's actually that close. But
Where are my dogs at?
Yeah.
What exactly gonna do? Rough Riders anthem. Like, I mean, what are we really gonna do? How's it going down? Like, you know what I mean?
Beautiful. I
Yeah,
just
but
want you to know.
You know how easily we have to shut that down? That whole vibe. Like, DMX just
What's shutting that down?
I mean, if you
When X start listing the names.
Oh my
They're going
God.
through those girls' names.
You know?
That's cool,
It's a
but
problem.
then I'm gonna take my time.
That song is so
She
overrated.
gonna be down there
Yeah,
for
I
a
really don't like it. I
I
don't
ride.
wish
like
people
that
remember
song.
how
Yeah.
people shitted on it when it came out. Like people shitted on that song when it came out.
They
Yeah.
did, but nah, niggas, that shit was a smash.
Unfortunately. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and start things off. So first and foremost, we want to welcome you all to I don't know counting episodes or whatever, but welcome you all to society. Happy to have you all here. Happy to see some new faces. Happy to see some familiar faces. You know, and we're excited for the dialogue today. We always start these off first with a land acknowledgement. While we all are in different places across the world, it's very likely for most of us that the place we're in did formerly belong to or do currently belong to indigenous folks that have been displaced. We just want to pay respect to that reality. And much of what we talk about is around liberation, particularly around Black folk. We also want to acknowledge that they're indigenous folk. Their struggles connect to our struggle, and all of our collective struggles is the way towards liberation. So we have to acknowledge that and hold that in this space as well. Yeah. So also, yes, most people have done this already with your pronouns. When you speak for the first time, if you can say your name in case, you know, folks have, just so we know how to pronounce it, things like that. We'd very much appreciate it. Anything else I'm leaving off, Kabir?
I think you're good.
My name is Aya. Don't know me. I don't know. We don't really do introductions like that. You'll get to know.
We kind of gotta go.
Not really about us. And this is my co-host Kabir. Yeah. So we'll just get into it.
What do you think?
So the first topic we're touching on is so Chance the Rapper, man. And so also we use popular culture to, like, you know, kind of be the catalyst to the conversation, but we don't actually intend to like stick on just talking about, you know, celebrities all the time, right? So like it's just a reason to kind of spark conversation. So I'll talk about Chance, but it's really not about Chance. But ultimately, I actually was a big Chance the Rapper fan. Acid Rap, 10 Day, like those like really got me into this guy. I really loved him being from Chicago. I really loved him having parents who were politically engaged, and so his music also like reflecting like, you know, that kind of political education to some extent. You know, I just thought he also had a good balance of like talking about like being like, you know, on acid sometimes and like growing up in like, you know, a hood neighborhood, but being the not really hood kid really resonated, you know, kind of with me. And I was excited for him. I think a lot of us saw him coming up and we're like, yo, he might be like he's like the next class under the Drake, J. Cole, Kanye West. Like, you know, his first, you know, debut album, Coloring Book, got a lot of attention. He won 3 Grammys for it. Like, it was like a really like great looking trajectory. Beyonce touched him at the award show, came up to him and touched him. You know what I mean? And he, as a moment where he was like the figure for like Black boy joy. He was out here, he's enjoying himself, enjoying his newfound success, singing about, you know, God and like, you know, his life. And it was just all really exciting. And then things happen. Things like, you know, Kanye West saying wild stuff, him kind of co-signing it. And multiple times he's co-signed it and then said, hey, wait, never mind, I shouldn't have said that, but then did it again. And so the question I kind of have around here, the topic is like, we have these faves and we want the best for them and we love them, but especially in 2020, we kind of expect at some point you are going to turn on me. You're going to make me not able to like you. What is it that we feel like? Is it about celebrity? Is it about fame? Is it about Black men in particular who tend to go these routes often? That is what causes this. Is it inevitable? What do we feel like either for Chance was the like, that was when he lost it, or generally, what do we feel like is the thing that pushes them over that ledge? Is it inevitable? Is it avoidable? Who's, in your eyes, you know, been able to bypass that? How? So just like that breaking point. Let's talk about that.
Well, I'll start. I think is this, you could just talk, right?
Yeah, just talk. You know what
I think like if celebrity was a industry in America, we would be leading in terms of just the way that we you know, everything is celebrity entertainment. somebody who's coming up, somebody who's in the game, referencing somebody who's historically done great things in music. And I think that blinds a lot of people's judgment. I know it's blinded my judgment in terms of,
For sure.
just certain things that you hear a favorite celebrity say, So I understand where people like Chance is coming from, because Chance grew up on Kanye and Chance is young, So you really don't want to just shit on people that raised you musically, but when you detach yourself from music, or in some cases actors or whatever it is, and really get down to what some people are talking about, it's just not beneficial in terms of the community, man. Like I feel where certain people are coming from, because I have vouched for people that I have no business vouching for, and it's only because I've connected to you through music, But like, I think we're this country, we just lead in terms of celebrity. That's just how we gauge if things are going well or if things are going bad. Like how our favorite celebrity is moving. Like it's sad, but that's just we gotta take into consideration how we even got people over here. Like people still come over here because of the idea of America, and that's really through celebrity. People's idea of this country is this is gold. I've heard a Liberian person tell me that when they came here, they thought the streets were paved with gold.
Yeah.
And you can only see that. Yeah, go ahead. My bad.
I was just saying. So I was just saying. So it's like the pedestal that we put them on. That
they're on. They're on a pedestal, and it's because we're marketed so well. But if you really start breaking down, are we leading the education? No. Are we leading an industry? Are we manufacturing shit? No. But celebrity dictates, our place for some reason. So like, honestly, when Kanye was talking about running for president, that didn't even seem off to me.
It's so normal at this point. Yeah.
It's normal. Like, yeah, you should go run for fucking president. Ronald Reagan was an actor. Like, go run for president. Arnold Schwarzenegger was the governor of California. Like, this is what this country does. And I don't even want to get into the Trump shit, but like, it didn't seem off to me, and I think that's a problem. Other countries.
And some Bill though. I want to shoot him a little bit of Bill, because I do like him, and I think that I everything that you said about his like background and his upbringing, his thinking at this point in time, though probably misspoken and like badly worded, did come from a place of like, all right, we've already gone down this rabbit hole to some extent. Maybe not the person Kanye West and like who he is as a person and what he's done, but the idea of like, why isn't someone who hasn't contributed to all the negativity in the world of politics? Like, if you're choosing a president, you're choosing someone who has probably historically damaged your community to some degree, right? We both acknowledge that Biden has blood on his hands and dirt in terms of like his relationship with the Black community. So to choose someone who is far removed from that and saying, hey, let's give you a chance, because we've already done it. And I like that Nick brought up Reagan. We've done it a couple times. And the popular majority hasn't said anything much, right? Reagan was a success in some people's eyes, and now 45 is a success in a lot of people's eyes. Right. So to put someone else that looks like us, that's not literally, pristine and cookie cutter, the backlash that someone like Kanye, not to say him per se, but another figure that's outside of the mold, I can see where chances like, wait, why is there such feverish backlash to someone who's doing what the dominant culture has already done?
Right.
Yeah, what continues to bother me with him, with Terry Crews and with J. Cole is just like they're bringing up these ideas that like maybe are okay, but one, they're conversations we all had before. So his whole thing was like, we need to look like Biden actually isn't that great, and it's like, yeah, nigga, we already know that. Like, you're not saying anything that we don't know already. But like they bring these ideas as if they're new phenomena, or recently developing thoughts. It's like, no, we know this guy sucks. But we know Kanye is not a smart person at this point. And probably, I think he's revealing that he just never was. So like, we don't need to take him seriously as anything else other than a rapper. And even right now, we don't need to take him seriously as that. He's told us that at this point.
Yeah, I think rapping Kanye's done.
Like
sadly,
we've seen the best of that. So at this point, like you said, Nick, we're holding on to something that was there and that we can still go back to. But like, even I think we're doing a disservice by even still like bringing him up.
Yeah, man.
Like, we kind of just got to let him go. And that hurts me to say, man. I was in graduation the other day.
You know, funny because Kabir, I've been telling you this for so long. You know what I mean? And we got to time.
Hold the thing. You're gonna do the "I was always right" thing.
You know, if Kabir listened to me 5 years ago,
can I mute
would
you?
be in this place.
So here's what I'm gonna say. I haven't defended Kanye West in a long time. I shut my mouth. I listen to his music. I enjoy his music. I don't defend this man. He hasn't done a smart thing in a long time. Since Dark Fantasy, right? So I keep my mouth shut in regards to him.
All right.
Can we at least say this? Kanye did kind of, in terms of fashion, he did help us grow up. You know, like the Kanyes, the Pharrells, they did help us grow up. I was done with the baggy jeans. And
Jay-Z did that with Changed Clothes. That was the moment where it happened.
I don't think Jay.
I don't think
did nothing for nobody.
Nobody was wearing a button up. Let's be clear.
That's not true.
I will one say, you know, it's not about taking away the contributions per se, not taking them away. We can take them away from him, but we can acknowledge their impact on us, right? To me, like feeling like I don't like what Kanye is doing and saying doesn't change the fact that like listening to Late Registration changed my life to an extent. Like 808s and Heartbreak when I was going through a high school breakup, like really felt like it was speaking to my soul, even though I had no types of Kanye problems at that time. But, you know, so I don't think we have to remove necessarily those like real feelings we have for the contribution that they've given, but we do have to acknowledge when it's gone too far and if we're contributing in a way that is problematic in some senses. Another piece of this that I also wanted to pull out was, a lot of the Chance backlash and the people who got off the Chance train was around his album and him singing about his love for his wife and, Christ and, really having a new lens on life, moving forward. Do we feel like, just that expression of love that, the way that he did it, a lot of people felt that it was corny. Connecting it to another kind of Christian guy who's expressing his love. Russell Wilson gets a lot of flack for, just being Russell Wilson. Do we feel like Black love, there's certain versions of Black love that we're like okay with and expressions of Black love that we see and that we're like, this works. And some that were like, nah, this is not it. And what is it that makes us okay with it and not? Whether it's in the celebrity eye or in real life.
If that album was good, people would have liked it.
Yo, I don't think that album was that bad. Like
you're alone in that camp, Nick. I will say that.
Following Coloring Book, man. Like I'm not super religious by any means, but the influence of gospel music is much appreciated, right? And Coloring Book did that masterfully. I think like Jonah, is it?
Yeah.
What Jonah just said. If the music was good, then you don't complain. But it wasn't good. Right. It just didn't sound. It wasn't aesthetically pleasing, sonically pleasing. But
like that John Legend intro.
I mean, there are parts of it, but I'm not throwing it on for 30 seconds.
Been a minute since Eminem was a blonde. Like he was. I don't know. I like that album, man. I'm not gonna front.
Again, you were one of few in that. Any other feelings on Black love in the media? It's okay. We don't have to stick on this because I did also want to get to the last part of this, which is Christianity. So we are kind of talking about it a little bit. So if maybe it's just the way he presented his album, it really wasn't into it. But Kanye has also tried to bring his Christian views and his gospel music to the forefront. Do we feel like generally the position we are as a people on religion has changed over time? Maybe especially in the public eye, we're all on social media. Do we feel like expressing like Christian views? I mean, nowadays, things that we used to do when we were younger, like celebrate Thanksgiving without any problem. Now we'd be like, yeah, we're just eating food with the family. Like we've acknowledged like because of colonization and that history being so clear now, we can't really embrace that as much. I feel like to an extent, Christianity has kind of gotten to that like place as well, where we know Christianity was a tool used for colonization. We know that missionaries came with colonizers, and while, you know, folks, particularly like on the continent of Africa, in the Caribbean, with like, hey, there's this religion here, and there was also a assimilation. There was also a, you know, attempt to whiten Black folk as well as indigenous folk. Similar things were happening. Schools like that were happening. Yep, someone was saying something.
I think Chance being corny is like a part of him being like a theater kid, so like it's kind of okay. And the whole, I think a lot of Russell Wilson's thing was just like his hair initially, like it was just really weird. But I do think that ultimately, like, it comes down to like masculinity and how like what we see as like the performative stuff is what we see as like cool or not. So like really liking a girl and publicly liking a woman that you're seeing is like not cool. So that's kind of the issue there. In terms of like religion and spirituality, again, I think in a large part people don't care, right? Like nobody has an issue with Chance's religious views because he put it in his music well. When he didn't do that, then it was like, I don't know if I'm really rocking with this, right? And like kind of uses that as a crutch. So like his whole career, he's been saying like, even more recently, he's been saying really crazy things in the songs that were very much not a part of like any religious view that I know of. But now he's using it as a justification to say like abortion shouldn't be a thing, and I almost killed my child, like shit like that. So like it's kind of picking and choosing when to use religion and when not to. Like that's primarily the issue. And like just like pimping it, which is what a lot of people do, like a lot of pastors do, whatever. Like that's a whole other conversation. So it's tricky. But yeah, like Chance is corny. That's okay. There's a lot of corny people. Like theater kids. The black boy joy and the corniness kind of like not like they go hand in hand, but like those things need to be able to exist. So like he needs to be allowed to be corny. But it would be great if he was corny, but then also put out good music and also didn't say stupid stuff on the internet, and then like rescind it when Terry Crews starts endorsing it.
Yeah,
Drake has managed his inherent corniness a lot better than the rapper has. There's a way to take your corniness and not hurt people with it. And Drake might be a lesson someone to learn from in that. Any final thoughts on the Chance, Black love, Black Christianity, general topics?
I mean, I think.
Sorry,
go ahead. Sorry.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hey.
It says something different on my thing. You guys think all those guys are corny? So who's cool to you? Do you have like, is there a spectrum with Chance on one end and like who's on the other end?
Jaden Smith is on the coolest side of that spectrum, in my personal opinion. No, I mean,
Jay-Z is like a easy, like Jay-Z is like cool, right? Like,
Jay-Z's cool.
He's older now, so like he gets the like dad corny vibe going. But yeah, we generally see Jay-Z as like cool.
Future is cool.
Future's cool. Future is cool. Like you know, like he's like dad cool. He's like the jock kind of cool. He's like so cool. He doesn't give a fuck about things he should, but you can't help but be like, damn. But he's kind of it's a problem, but that definitely
it's
is.
Like, yeah.
I was definitely gonna say Future, but then I didn't want the backlash. But apparently there's no backlash.
But I'm of the opinion that like he's so toxic and like not giving a shit about his toxicity. That's like, nah, you corny as hell for that.
Yeah, but you got to realize like that would be cool before a Chance. You know what I mean? Like the toxic shit gets a pass before some good things. Like honestly, when Chance dropped, I think what was the Coloring Book? I think even at that time, I was listening to a lot of headshot music. A lot of people were getting hawked with a knife in my music that I was listening to. So like it was a good breather when Chance was out. You know what I mean? And I think balance is important in music or in anything. So I think what Chance's mission was with that album and just his expression of his love for his wife and his journey with his wife was this. He was trying to make that shit cool. You know what I mean? Because to be real, people fucking your bitch in music, it was just getting tiring, man. Like for me personally, it was getting tiring. Every 5 minutes, these artists are fucking my bitch for some reason. Like I'm just getting tired of it. So
that's what they're saying in the song. That's not what you're saying. Just to be
not, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I think I don't think Chance was qualified to make it cool. I think that's what the problem was. He wasn't chosen to make marriage cool. Now we got a guy like Jay-Z. He's chosen to make marriage cool. You know what I mean? You got who else is a marriage is cool kind of guy? Kanye was making marriage cool for a lot of people, even though they were dissing.
May I enter a person for consideration? I'm sorry. My name is Kristen. I'm probably unknown to you all. I'm actually a friend, but I was just thinking about like the original corny rapper being Will Smith and a person who like makes marriage sustainably cool in a way. But I mean, I don't know if part of that is that it's long lasting or now there's like this hot scandal around his marriage. But I do feel like he's worth consideration in the like topic of corny rappers that still somehow like maintain relevance.
Right. 1,000%. 1,000%.
Cool. I'm gonna change.
Yeah, let's take us into the shits. Not the shit.
Yeah. So
topic as such.
Yeah, and to Aya's point earlier, again, we obviously don't want to focus on celebrity culture. We want to obviously want to tear that down. We know it's not great for anybody, for any of us, but it brings up really interesting discussions. So Nick Cannon said some things, and some anti-Semitic things, and some like hateful, incorrect things on his podcast, which apparently is like pretty popular. I didn't really know. Which brought up a whole thing, right? Like concepts of like Black supremacy were coming up, ideas of like anti-Semitism being pervasive through the Black community, which is like interesting to think about. So, yeah. So I'm just wondering what the things that Nick Cannon was saying. Him and Professor Griff. Professor Griff was talking about Black people are actually chosen people. Black people are the real Semites, these things. And Nick was saying some like melanin-based science stuff. Melanin gives Black people certain, essentially like superpowers. And how white people are deficient because they lack melanin. This general gist. Have people come across this type of analysis before? Have they heard these things through their like political journey, through their reading, through their understanding? Y'all heard this before, but you think when you heard it initially, what do you think about it now?
Yeah, through certain street performers.
So yeah,
if you look at
political education,
you know.
I heard of Hotep people before, but what's the Dear White People was like the closest information that I have seen representing that.
They did a fun job. I think that show did a pretty fun job of talking about that.
But this is like Hotep to a different level. It's the Hebrew Israelites. Right. If you live in New York and ever tried to get on a train station, you've seen them, you've heard them.
Yeah, I've heard I've heard this rhetoric before.
Those outfits are just the Black people here be like, those outfits are just really interesting.
I think that goes back to the fact that, you know, we're constantly trying to search for something that's ours, you know? So with Nick Cannon, like off rip, when I saw him wearing the Andre 3000 turban and just, you know, trying to embrace, I guess, I don't know, Black spirituality or consciousness, like I understood where he was coming from. I think at some point I was even on that road, just constantly watching YouTube videos of Dr. Phil Valentine and, you know, these dudes who were just telling you, you know, Black people came from space. You know, we came from space to start Sirius and this and that. So I think the problem with that is we start getting into the qualification talk, you know, like I'd never qualified Nick Cannon to start talking conscious, but apparently you could just put a turban on and be conscious, you know? So
hey, but he been going to school though.
A lot of people
have been in the books.
Howard at that.
A lot of people have been going to school, but I mean, you know, there's a board that helps you graduate. You can't just put your cap and gown on and be like, yep, I graduated, I did it. You know, like if you even watch that interview, Nick Cannon was talking way more than Professor Griff.
Yeah.
And it was almost like he was trying to showcase, you know, the things he's learned like newly.
Yeah.
Or the things that he's held on to that he believes are true. And like I said, I think it all goes back to just with us trying to discover where we're, you know, our place.
Yeah.
I think he fucked up, and it was an honest mistake. I just think, the firing him, that, and then you start getting into another conversation of just like,
so I'll speak for myself. Definitely, I took a really, really great Africana studies class. I think Luxon went to the same school. You can speak to that too. Took a really, really interesting Black history class. And through that, it kind of like opened my eyes to these different people. So I definitely was somebody listening to like Umar Johnson, right? And then through that, I started listening to people like John Henry Clark, people like Ivan Van Sertimer, Dr. Ben, Amos Wilson, like all these names that people have heard, they've seen countless YouTube videos, maybe read some books. And through that, I think in my mind, some of these ideas, not all of them, Francis Quest Welsing is another one, so is Marimba Ani. Some of these ideas become normal, not something I necessarily accepted, but something where like, if somebody talks about somebody mentioned something about, if somebody did mention like the fucking Shabaka Stone or like the shit that you were saying, Nick, I'm like, I don't really know what you mean, but I get what you're trying to say. And like, also, and this isn't to minimize the stuff that Nick Cannon or like other people like him have said, but like, as a fucking fan of like science fiction, to like sit and hear that like Black people like came from space or like Black people are somehow special in some way is really fucking cool. And like considering like our history, like it's something I at least initially like latched onto, but then like I read more and like that was really helpful. And I went like back to school and that was also pretty helpful. So I think for a lot of people, it just ends up stopping where like Nick was saying, where I was at with like just a ton of YouTube videos. I think like it begins and ends there and it doesn't go any further because it sounds really good. And for some people some of it is rooted in truth. But the whole idea of like Black people being the true chosen people, one, just got to be clear, right? Like everybody here is against anti-Semitism. I'm going to go out and say that clearly because that's the case, right? Black people were and are still looking for, in a lot of cases, still looking for some type of like purpose. And if you've been oppressed for several hundred years, like we have, to hear that you're the chosen people, especially as a Black person in the United States, you're going to latch on to that. And that's just the reality. Ultimately, though, that idea is very much rooted in capitalism, right? Like if the whole idea is like somebody gets to have these things and somebody else doesn't, that's a fucking problem, right? The minute Louis Farrakhan starts saying stuff against like gay folks or Jewish folks, knowing that they're Black Jewish folks, like that's a problem, right? That's where the issue lies. My thing is like, why do you think these ideas have been able to persist? What do we think?
Well, I'll just share real quick. I think oftentimes, obviously, like a lot of different things, we can blame white supremacy, right? White supremacy forces us to, like you mentioned, we're trying to find ourselves. We're trying to find purpose, the destination, the journey. Like, white people have had this, manifest destiny, kind of moral compass forever, right? And I think because of being oppressed for a long time, right? We've had to, there are folks who have, went to the extreme to take that back, right? And help us claim ourselves as the chosen people, as superior than, right? And so that is, I think, a byproduct of white supremacy in itself, right? But I also say, let's look at other religions and how they've also utilized that same mentality of, us having this mental fortitude better than to kind of, raise money or get followers, right? Let's look at folks in the Nation of Islam. You mentioned Louis Farrakhan, or different churches, right, that have tried to, utilize this ideology of like, we are better than this, like we are better than that, right? And so we should be of this type of mentality and things like that. So I don't see any, obviously, there's definitely extremes to that. But again, I think this is a result of white supremacy. I think that it is very, very dangerous when you start to see yourself as, like, you perpetuate white supremacy ideally by saying you're better, like you're the chosen race, right? And it doesn't necessarily have to be that way, right? It doesn't have to be that way, but because of like just and we're talking about oppression, not just in the United States, but the international oppression in general, right? Mm-hmm. And so you're like, we've been oppressed for so long. And, oftentimes, biblically, folks have used that same ideology. There's Zionists out there who've used that we've been oppressed for so long ideology to reclaim their land in Palestine, right? Like that, over a long period of time, oppression, there's got to be the land of milk and honey at the end of the rainbow, right? Like there's just got to be a destination we're going to. So I think it's like a recycled like method for people who have been oppressed.
Yeah.
I want to just pause and also just bring in and call out and encourage more perspectives from women also in the conversation 40 minutes in, but just want to let folks contribute as they want to, but also just want to say that your voices, in particular women, would be very, very appreciated also in general here.
Hotep, Sister Hotep.
Chris can jump in if they want. We also have the hand raise feature. We also have the chat if folks want to contribute there as well. All forms of contribution are valued and appreciated. Just want to leave space for that. But if anyone wanted to respond to anything that
I'll just add a few notes. I think one of the things that stands out to me is that there is something quite human and natural about wanting your religion to center you. If you look at the vast majority of religious identities, the sort of spirit, God, whatever version of that you want to take, as historically been of the same physical feature as the people who are practicing it. Like you look at most religion, Confucius, Buddhist, etc. The vast majority of religion, with probably the exception of Islam, which bars any depiction of the prophet, etc. Most of those people reflect the physical expression of the practitioners of it. So there's something quite natural about it, but I didn't get the whole scope of it, and I apologize for jumping in, but I agree with what Kabir was saying at the end of his component, which I think is a coping mechanism. Like a lot of these things are about finding purpose in a religion, which has, been a source of salvation for a lot of people in the Americas in particular, because I think a lot of these things we're discussing are very overemphasized in the Americas as opposed to in other Black, regions of the world. There's like a specific lens that is heightened in the Americas. And so I think that's definitely a part of it, is that people tend to associate their religious identity with, or their God, with someone who looks like them. And in particular for the American Black, who has been in this, world where they are feel without home, religion has always been a source of identity and salvation. And so there's something about wanting to sort of arm yourself and centering yourself in that religion, and being like a lot of the Jewish biblical Jewish experience mirrors a lot of what people feel about their own experience, being left enslaved and just like forgotten by the world, but being protected by Father God is like a part of our Black history in the Americas as well. So I see why we're susceptible to that, but definitely I think it's a coping mechanism, definitely for in particular. And I'm not sure why, because obviously slavery is not just in the U.S., but it's something that I feel much more pronounced here, and a part of it is because the U.S. has never really welcomed people here. Black people don't feel like this is their home, so they need one.
I want to jump in here, which is cool. It's Kabir and I have been talking about this at length, sending like voice messages back and forth, especially after like the WhatsApp thread sort of blew up. Mm-hmm. The thing that I've been thinking about like right now in sort of reaction to a lot of this is the sort of science fiction part of it is confusing. Because if you take a logical, rational lens to any of the religions, it's sort of science fiction, right? Right. And I don't want to offend anyone in here, but like we have to believe in a little bit of magical properties. We have to believe in a little bit of chosen ones coming from a special place, or God raising someone from the dead, believing in a zombie, or however you want to take a look at it. It's whether or not we accept it as science fiction or as someone's beliefs. And it gets complicated when it gets mixed with science, and then you don't have the ability to parse through that and say, okay, that's sort of like religious belief. You can believe what you want to believe, but now we're taking this as an approach scientifically and using it as a rationale to either subjugate people or empower people. And that's, I think, the crux of it. Are we using it to subjugate others, or are we trying to empower ourselves? Christianity is super easy to look at it because the whole premise is supposed to be about empowering yourself and turning the other cheek and accepting others for who they are. And then it gets twisted over this, centuries. You can look back and just see how they use that same rhetoric and use it to subjugate people. So we can criticize Christianity because of that, because they twisted it. And now we use it as a harsher lens to upcoming beliefs, upcoming theologies. It's weird and it's twisted, and I think you guys, did my audio cut out because one of my AirPods just died? Okay. Yeah. Also, I don't know. I grew up in a family. My mom's Jewish. My dad's not. They married each other, so I can't possibly be as religious as maybe growing up in the family or in a culture where you have like one worldview. But I was lucky enough. My dad's from Egypt, and he's a Christian man, but he got to teach me about all the different kinds of religions, because Cairo was sort of this area where there was all these different religions living all in the same place. But I think the Jewish people, I from my own experiences from Seders, where we have all different kinds of people together, just like over Passover, and this story is about slavery, but we don't talk about other people's slavery. We don't talk about modern situations, or even more the contemporary situations. We talk about the Jewish slavery that happened thousands of years ago, and we look inward and we don't look outward as a ways to use the religion to help others. We use it to help empower the Jewish people up, and that's complicated and problematic in itself. And I don't know, it bothers me. It bothers me to look at Jewish communities in New York and see how they use, the religion to subjugate others, or in Israel. It's complicated. And then we go back and we give ourselves a pass in Israel, for instance, or we give ourselves a pass for, and I say ourselves, I don't really identify as that. It's just something I am that, and people identify me as that sometimes, and it's complicated. I've been rambling, so I'm going to give someone else a room to talk.
Thank you for that perspective, though.
It's really interesting, the mix of this, Hertep conversation, and then how that rapidly transitions to Israel-Palestine conversation. I'm not a religious person and not a fan of it in general, but I do see the idea of how folks who really are looking for something to believe in or some group to be a part of can get wrapped up in some kind of organization that sounds really good, that's convincing, that's exciting, that says we'll be your family, and provides that kind of love and support or something close to it. It can be easy to participate in that and to ignore or to miss or ignore some of the problematic aspects of it, like the Nation of Islam or the Hebrew Israelite group. But like any other kind of conspiracy theory conversation, it's a lot of folks who don't have the support and system around them are trying to just look for something that they can be a part of.
Yeah.
That's probably the main issue with these kinds of groups.
Yeah. Speaking of the nation, it's important to also think about one of the defenses of the nation is that they've done and they're doing a lot of really good work. Whether it be in Black neighborhoods, whether it be in prison. We all know the story of like Malcolm X, and that story has been repeated several times. There are tangible people that people know who've converted to the Nation of Islam and have come out of prison as different people. And that's real. I also, right, thank you, Z. But also we need to recognize that like there are other organizations that exist that are doing the work as well that aren't homophobic or transphobic, right? And who don't like marginalize women and like silence their voices, you know? So although they're doing good work, we do know other people that are doing equally good work, and we can obviously say better, right? Because they're not oppressing while they're also trying to uplift. And that was the point, Damien, I think you were trying to make. Ultimately, we want liberation for all people. So in any situation where like you need to talk down about a group, like as a Black person, that's not what I'm trying to do. When I say Black people are the shit, it doesn't say anything about anybody else, right? So like has nothing to do with anybody. And that's the really important thing. I do also though, like the Black supremacy thing, I think I don't like the phrase. I think it's a bit of a joke because it's not a real thing, and I don't think it exists. Well, no, not even I think. I say it doesn't exist. But ultimately, like the rhetoric is dangerous, right? Because even in my classroom, when talking about like race and history, conversations about like Jewish folks like running things or like running banks or all these things or like controlling everything, that stuff comes up and it's very normal. It's very normal. It has been normalized. So I think like you do need to, again, I can speak for myself, like I need to be more mindful in checking that when I see it and hear it. I listen to Jay Electronica. His album literally starts with a quote from Louis Farrakhan, right? Like me and Nick, we've had this conversation, like, again, and it's something that I've heard so many million times. I'm like, oh yeah, that's, you know, it's Farrakhan being Farrakhan, right? In Kendrick's album, on my favorite song on his album, on Damn, he has a Black Hebrew Israelite talk about how Black folks are the chosen people. And that was just like, I was like, all right, cool. Shit sounds kind of cool. Like, I get it. I understand, again, because I've done a little bit of reading, but like I've normalized these ideas in my life, I can say. And again, it doesn't need to be it's not a, we need to recognize that like things aren't a zero-sum game. We don't need to shit on one group to uplift ourselves. That's literally how we got here in the first place. And like, we don't need it. Yeah.
I just want to say that like, if you analyze really quickly, like all the conversations that we've had, and I think Gary had mentioned it specifically, like the American lens is one of Africans being brought here and only knowing getting to the next level, some part by seeing other people being thrown below you, because that's what was done to us, right? Like America doesn't exist if we're not at the bottom building this shit up, right? So we've only seen, other than hard work and toiling, the next level of that is the real group think of that is for us all to move up, we've got to throw someone else below us. You've seen that with the immigrants that come here, whatever group or whatever country they come from, they're like, oh, who can I stand on top of? So a lot of these rhetorics, yes, while biblical and religious, that practice and that mindset of how do I get to the next level kind of comes from that that pain and trauma of shit. The only way I know how to get on top is to throw someone below me and stand on them.
Yeah. And I think, you know, and I know we're getting to the, you know, kind of end point of this, but, you know, obviously there's so much here and we knew that this would be a robust conversation. I want to leave folks with a resource, and not that this is like the guiding text or anything like that, but I think it throws some interesting things for me. Ibram X. Kendi's How to Be Anti-Racist, I think speaks a lot to this concept of like, not necessarily Black supremacy, but like, eradicating racism. Part of that journey is, I mean, accepting what we've been through as a Black people as something that, like, you know, has, you know, disadvantaged us significantly, but a future that really works for a collective liberation is a future where race doesn't play the role that it does, whether it's negatively or, you know, to, you know, because I think reading this book was difficult because the book talks about like, yeah, you know what I mean? Ideas that like blackness is better than other races is like not real. I'm like, but wait, but blackness is magic and blackness is, and like there's a comfort in that and there's a need for that, right? There's a time when like, but you know, to Kabir's point, it's like about saying like blackness is dope, but not necessarily about saying blackness is doper than. Now, inherently, almost naturally, I can't help but see like a white boy dancing and be like, yo, but I mean, we're just built different, you know what I mean? And there's a feeling about that feels so like right, but it's really not, right? Because I also have seen some black brothers who, you know what I mean? 2 left feet, you know? So there's a reality to like actually acknowledging and accepting that like, while we have these experiences that have put this type of like, we've been more disadvantaged, they've been more privileged, and this is why we're in the different places. There's a future where we have gotten past like, you know, letting these things like create the divisions within us that they do create, right? So there's this like idea that gets, you know, promoted, and that's what Nick is doing, which is saying like, we are the real people who've been more oppressed than Jewish folks. We are the real people who haven't been able to advance, and Jews are in a different space in that. And we need to break that down and allow there to be space for like, they've been through some shit. We've been through some shit. We have to collectively find a way out of this shit, that I think is really, really important to like try to interrogate. So again, that book is How to Be Anti-Racist. I'm sure you guys have seen it, heard about it, but I would really recommend like doing the personal work of going through that book because it really does bring up some of those issues.
And can I just say this real quick? I think there's something to, you know, the conversation being had where a lot of people take Black pride as you're shutting their culture down. You know what I mean? Like, I know we're passionate people, but yeah, a lot of people take Black pride as if we're shutting down other cultures, even if it's in a positive way, you know? Like, I know Nick did kind of go overboard, but I already know that it was rooted in, yo, I want to make sure that we know that we're, you know, we're good people. I think he was coming from a good place. A lot of times the information that we have when we're coming from a good place is on, it's on the backs of other people, sadly, you know? But look at things that have happened to Black people. What type of things that we go through, you know, like we won't get acknowledged. The reparation talk, that talk is never going to really be a concrete thing, you know, which is why it's like we're in a state of like, I'm not saying we're all crazy. I'm just saying we're in a state of insanity because honestly, we were left to repair ourselves. After slavery, we just got sent out there. We're just like supposed to just deal with what comes after, you know, one of the worst atrocities that ever happened. And I think trying to find pride in that, we have to really be careful because the message could be lost as if we're, you know, we're potentially going to oppress people if we were in position. You know, I think that becomes another conversation. Like,
and
if you dethrone the king and you become the king, you're going to be a worse king. You know, like, and that's just.
And that's the thing that like people like Nick, people like Dave Chappelle, when he was saying, listen, like, I'm just not okay with the LGBTQ community getting rights before us, right? That's that kind of problematic thinking where it's like, oh, we've been so oppressed, but we can't start looking at other groups and saying we deserve more than them, because then we are just like reiterating and, you know, perpetuating the existing system of oppression when we say that us first. That's like kind of the problematic kind of thinking that leads to saying, well, why do Jewish folk get the chance to like advance in these certain ways when we should be as a group getting that exact thing, and they don't deserve X, Y, or Z. And that's kind of the problematic piece there. I know Gary has a thing, and maybe we'll have like 2 more points and or as many women's points that want to go up on here, but we'll have 1 more point from Male. And then,
yeah, my bad. I would love to hear.
No, you're bad.
So that reminded me of one point, which I don't know it was specifically mentioned here, but I think there is still a latent anger amongst Black people for how we've been treated by almost every other identity, every group that has ever existed in America, because as was mentioned earlier, there is a black-white paradigm where in America, everyone comes to America and the first thing you do is to say, well, I'm definitely not black. Like that's the sort of structure in which you have every single group. And it's not, purely a racial or religious thing. It's every single group. This is a part of the paradigm. You're either black or white, and everyone is trying to figure out how do they get to as close to whiteness as possible. And so I think there's a lot of latent anger, I think, by Black people at large to see how, we know that in every Dominican Latinx household, there's somebody in there that's like, don't marry a Black guy, or, don't, all of these things are still being said. And then when it's a broader issue, there's this solidarity that we all have to exist in and with. And I still think there's a lot of latent anger amongst Black people for this sort of, implicit anger that we all share. And then I think, and I am not at all condoning what Nick or anyone else that is like making up these really hurtful statements are doing, but I think it comes from a lot of like anger. I think we don't talk a lot enough about just the latent anger that's underneath the whole.
Thank you. That's an incredibly important part of it. Any last women's perspectives on it?
Hotep, sister, Hotep.
Hotep and Herteps alike are all welcome to the dialogue. Okay. So we just wanted to spend the last, couple minutes we have here just acknowledging the loss of John Lewis, a true freedom fighter, just like some of his, just many established accomplishments. He was the chairman of SNCC, was on the Bloody Sunday March, in Selma, at age 25, where, a lot of Black folk who were on that were brutalized in the fight for voter, just like Black liberation, but also like voter rights. March on Washington, he was one of the youngest, or actually the youngest person to speak at the March on Washington. He was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom. He was handcuffed 45 times in his entire career, 40 times during the Civil Rights Movement and 5 times as a congressman. He also has a book called March, a graphic novel. I think there's 3 books within that series, and also just like really cool stuff. Like he attended Comic-Con every year. Was just a figure. I mean, I think not the craziest thing, but one of the things that I just felt in people memorializing him was so many people I knew had photos with him. I honestly think of all the people who are at that level, that political level, that level of celebrity, he's one of the ones that most of my network somehow, some way, at some point was able to connect with him in a very real way. And so I guess the conversation is opening it up to any, reflections people have on his career, his life, and also looking forward, what is giving us hope about this next generation. He was definitely part of a generation of freedom fighters. And I do think that that torch has been passed on. I'm just wondering what folks here are seeing that's giving them hope about this next generation that's, hopefully breeding folk with similar liberative energy. So just what's kind of giving people hope right now, and or what reflections do people have on his life and his work?
I think the phrase "good trouble" has been going around a lot lately since his death, and I find that so interesting and so lovely as a place of hope, thinking about all the Black at school pages that students have been creating and doing. I feel like those have just been so powerful to see young folks step up and name the harm, but also hold people accountable for the harm that they've created. And I think that kind of quote unquote good trouble has been a really beautiful place for me to continue to rejuvenate through this process.
Word. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I just want to echo that. Working in education, specifically charter, my experience with it and seeing a lot of the things that the young people are talking about is things that I plan on going back to my building with, and to see that they've on their own picked up the mantle and wanted to do it for their own benefit. I think it makes me feel like a lot of the work that has gone into education to some degree, and just, you know, the nation as a whole, has been to some benefit, because a lot of these social media pages are started by students who these schools will be propping up otherwise, right? And they're turning around and like tearing the whole system down for their own benefit.
Right, right.
My bad, I'm laughing because Nick went into outer space.
I'm trying to mute.
Up there with Elijah Muhammad.
Reflections, hope that people are finding in this liberative torch passing.
Yeah, I think how I was talking about this earlier this week, but one, just him, how accessible he was, is incredible, and then also how he was able to, I don't know, he was about that shit in every phase of his life, right? Like he stuck to his beliefs and his ideals, like in every instance, whether he was on the front lines or whether he was a congressman. Like I think that's just remarkable, because a lot of us, especially as we're getting older now, right? Like moving from being someone who's just like out there protesting to someone who's in some sort of like position of power, quote unquote, like thinking about how to still like stick to your guns, right? Like commit to what you believe in while being in different spaces. And like nobody ever checked him for being a sellout, right? Like that's like rarely happens, right? Like he's somebody I definitely look to, right? Like as someone who's, like I'm like not gonna be out on the streets for the rest of my life. So like what am I gonna do, and how am I going to still like fight for Black folks and like support as much as I can while also still transitioning and like making moves in different ways.
For sure. And I mean, to me also, like what's inspiring, particularly about his journey, was that, you know, he really was a career activist, you know, and I think that like you see, and we talk about celebrity culture, and there's a reality that even as an activist, you can, you know, become a celebrity and, you know, be separated from your original kind of work and your original calling. And there are a lot of former community organizers, former like, you know, front lines folk who, you know, get in certain positions, whether it's in the nonprofit industrial complex or the academic industrial complex, and just kind of, you know, play an important role, but a role that's maybe more like academic or, you know, just kind of speaking engagements. And I just love the fact that like that fervor and that energy kind of stayed with him. I mean, to be arrested as a congressman, you know what I mean? Like that is just something so inspiring for what I hope is a fire that never burns out within me, that I'm always still just as down to like roll up my sleeves and like get into it. And I'm never like, oh, but my position here, or oh, how will this institution see this decision I make? So there's just something really inspiring about how like he never stopped, that, you know, I get inspiration from.
Bring it back to how the conversation started, or how the agenda started. I just wish we looked at activists more and heard activists more than celebrities becoming activists.
Right.
It should always go the other way. And it's frustrating to see that we look at celebrities first before looking at frontline activism or people that are activists for their voices.
And the celebrity activists, the Sean Kings of the world and the Rays, are not also the solution either. But yes, that focus needs to shift. Let in some last comments.
Y'all are great. Fantastic. This is a lovely looking group of people. Thank you so much. Yeah, we're definitely gonna implement, again, y'all know I'm a teacher. I'm gonna like start doing some cold calling next time. So just be ready for that. This is one trick. Teachers will have like
gotta explain that
sticks and then have names on it, and then like just pull one out and be like, oh, it's Gary. Gary gotta speak, you gotta say something. So just be ready for that next time.
Did you see his eyes though?
Right, like no, but for real, thank y'all so much. Always really appreciate all of you jumping in, sharing your thoughts. Right, Brian with the I'll wait. Yeah, sharing your thoughts, sharing your opinions. Obviously, like a lot of really touchy subject, but like really, really important that we need to like talk and hash out and think about a deeper level. So yeah, if you please don't mind filling out this document. If you didn't already, we would love to get your email. We're going to send out a bunch of spam and like other really bad stuff that'll slow down your computer. So be ready for that. Yeah.
You don't have to fill it out twice, right?
If you already fill it out, no need to fill it back out. We're going to let you guys get on out of here. But yeah, again, thank you guys for coming. Please fill out this form. We will be sending, I'm planning on doing it tonight. Probably, I say this every time, and then I like leave and go like get hammered. I'm kidding. You know, I'm gonna as soon as it downloads, try to upload this to YouTube, make sure it's out there. Also the resources that were mentioned in the chat, we'll put that on the Google Doc with links so folks can like follow up on some of the amazing resources that were talked about, discussed. You still have some time if you want to add any resources that you think people should look into. But, you know, we just appreciate you all coming. Those who are first timers, we really, really appreciate you. Those who are last timers, you know, we're glad you showed up this time. Tell a friend, even if you never return. But no. In all seriousness, you know, we've really appreciated just building community here and having community here. We're in a wild time in our lives, and to just be able to have this thing that is subnormal of sorts, but, you know, either way, it just feels incredibly necessary. We're just really, really appreciative of having this opportunity. We'll be back in 2 weeks. If you don't follow us, keep up with us on Instagram. But if you give us your emails, we'll send you an email letting you know when what we'll be talking about, and then following up with resources. But thank you. Appreciate you all, truly. All right. Peace.
All right, y'all. Have a good one.
See ya.
Peace out, y'all.
Thanks for coming.
Ashe.